Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, Mike Lindell sent me a note yesterday. He has a special for the 6-piece towel set, $25 when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. You'll get the $25 offer on the 6-piece towel set, and I promise you, these will be the most comfortable, the most absorbent towels that you own. mypillow.com, use promo code Joey, get the 6-piece towel set for just $25. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. We had been warned that it was coming. Joe Biden yesterday announced a new asylum bar for migrants coming across the southern border. When encounters hit a certain level, it was met with immediate criticism from both Democrats and Republicans, with Republicans calling it a stunt and some Democrats accusing him of betraying migrants. Also, Melissa Cohen Biden, the wife of Hunter Biden, lashed out at a former Trump White House aide during a Tuesday appearance in court to support her husband, Hunter, who's been charged with 3 felonies stemming from a 2018 firearm purchase. We'll give you the update on yesterday's court proceedings. The House yesterday approved legislation aimed at penalizing the International Criminal Court, the ICC, as it weighs whether to bring war crimes against Israeli leaders for their conduct in the war with Hamas. And those who were praising California Governor Gavin Newsom's plan to raise minimum wages for restaurant workers are now seeing the effects a law like this can have. Rubio's Coastal Grill, a California Mexican restaurant chain, announced the closure of 48 restaurants in the Golden State amid rising business costs due to the increased wage expense. The Los Angeles Times reported that the chain decided to shutter nearly 1/3 of its restaurants following a, quote, review of its operations and the current business climate.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson Bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson Bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Let's start with Joe Biden's announcement of a new asylum bar for migrants coming across the southern border. Biden signed a proclamation that will temporarily suspend the entry of non-citizens across the southern border once the number of average border encounters exceeds 2,500 a day over 7 days. That will stay into effect until 14 days after there's been a 7-day average of less than 1,500 encounters along the border. Officials said it would make it easier for immigration officers to quickly remove individuals who do not have a legal basis to remain in the U.S. Now, I read this, and it's very confusing, and maybe that's by design. If we don't understand it, then maybe we won't know whether it's a success or not. I mean, when they start talking about the number of average border encounters when it exceeds 2,500 a day for 7 days, and that will stay in effect until 14 days after there's been a 7-day. I got so confused, I couldn't figure this out. I'm not sure Joe Biden could explain it if he didn't have notes on a teleprompter in front of him. And again, I think this is by design. I think they want it so complicated that we don't know if it's a success or not. Now, the president was quick to point his finger at GOP members of Congress, calling them obstructionists when it comes to securing the border. Here's the president announcing his new program.
I've come here today to do what the Republicans in Congress refuse to do. Take the necessary steps to secure our border. 4 months ago, after weeks of intense negotiation between my staff and Democrats and Republicans, we came to a clear bipartisan deal. It was the strongest border security agreement in decades. But then Republicans in Congress, not all, but walked away from it. Why? Because Donald Trump told them to. He told the Republicans, it has been published widely by many of you, that he didn't want to fix the issue. He wanted to use it to attack me. That's what he wanted to do. It was a cynical and an extremely cynical political move, and a complete disservice to the American people who are looking for us to not to weaponize the border, but to fix it. Today, I'm joined by a bipartisan group of governors, members of Congress, mayors, law enforcement officials, most of whom live and work along the southern border. They know the border is not a political issue to be weaponized. the responsibility we have to share, to do something about it. They don't have time for the games played in Washington, and neither do the American people. So today, I'm moving past Republican obstruction and using the executive authorities available to me as president to do what I can on my own to address the border. Frankly, I would have preferred to address this issue through bipartisan legislation because that's the only way to actually get the kind of system we have now that's broken, fixed, to hire more Border Patrol agents, more asylum officers, more judges. But Republicans have left me no choice. Today, I'm announcing actions to bar migrants who cross our southern border unlawfully from receiving asylum. Migrants will be restricted from receiving asylum at our southern border unless they seek it after entering through an established lawful process. And those who seek to come to the United States legally, for example, by making an appointment and coming to a port of entry, asylum will still be available to them, still available. But if an individual chooses not to use our legal pathways, if they choose to come without permission and against the law, they'll be restricted from receiving asylum and staying in the United States.
The order includes a number of exceptions for those coming across the border. It will not apply to visa holders, unaccompanied children. Now, how many of you think that they'll be sending their kids across the border without them? That they'll just push their kids across the border, try to lift them over the fence or get them across the river so their kids will at least have a chance. Victims of a severe form of trafficking, as well as those who face an acute medical emergency or an imminent threat to life or safety. Any of them could argue that, couldn't they? A threat to life or safety. It also does not apply to those seeking entry to the U.S. via ports and entry, those who are using the CBP One app, of which around 1,500 migrants are allowed in each day. It drew sharp backlash from both Republicans and some Democrats, but for very different reasons. House Speaker Mike Johnson with Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Majority Whip Tom Emmer, House Republican Chair Elise Stefanik, said that the order was a, quote, desperate political stunt to try and stabilize his plummeting poll numbers ahead of the November election. Joe Biden, he may not be able to read a teleprompter, but he can read polls, and he can understand polls because he's lived by polls for most of his life. And Joe Biden sees that the American people are fed up with him allowing illegals coming into our country, flooding into our country, taxing our resources, costing Americans a lot of money. He's starting to understand this now. And so now they're right. He is desperate. He's desperately trying to make it look like, oh, the Republicans are the bad guys. They won't do anything. So if they won't do it, I'll just do it all by myself. Well, Mr. President, why did you sign all the executive orders on day one that you were so proud of, undoing what Donald Trump had already done that had the border pretty stable? What a hypocrite. I mean, just what hypocrisy for him to stand there. I watched him yesterday, and I got to admit, and I don't like getting angry. I got angry listening to him, standing there bloviating about how he was going all along. He was going to do this by himself because the Republicans won't help him. What hypocrisy. Speaker Johnson said, quote, from his first day in office, Biden has worked to implement a failed open border agenda, which created this historic humanitarian and national security catastrophe. He has turned every American community into a border community and opened our country to violent criminals, terrorists, cartels, and poisonous drugs. The statement went on to read, this executive action does nothing to end parole abuses or catch and release. It continues the administration's abuse of the CBP One app. It does not re-implement President Trump's successful Remain in Mexico policy. It provides no new resources for Border Patrol. It does nothing to deport the millions who have poured over our open border every year since Joe Biden took office. And it will still allow scores of additional illegal immigrants to flood into our country before any so-called shutdown authority kicks in, they said. Louisiana Senator John Kennedy said that Biden is desperate. And Kennedy says he hopes that the American people are not fooled by this.
President Biden is in trouble politically. he's polling right up there with fungal infections. Part of the reason for that is that he gave in to the loon wing of his party, and he dissolved the southern border. Now, 5 months before an election, he has to appear to be willing to do something about it, hence this executive order. And this is one of the most cynical things that I have ever seen a politician attempt to do 5 months before an election. It is insulting, it is cheap, it is contemptuous. The American people see that. And I hope you do too.
I think most Americans do understand this, don't you? Don't you believe that Americans see right through what Joe Biden's trying to do and that we're not going to fall for it? We're not going to fall for this latest stunt. I mean, do you? Are you falling for this? Are you buying what Joe Biden was trying to sell yesterday? Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Furman Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Soon going to be 4 years ago that I started my journey with PhD weight loss and nutrition. I lost 30 pounds pretty quickly, I might add, and I've been able to maintain that for almost 4 years now. It'll be 4 years coming up in July. If this is the year that you have decided that you're going to get healthy, that you're going to lose that weight, that visceral fat that's so damaging around your waist, then now's the time to start. Let me encourage you to make that call today. 864-252-4925. Set up your initial consultation with PhD Weight Loss and Nutritionist. Boy, am I glad that I met Dr. Ashley Lucas 4 years ago and that she got me on the right path to getting healthy. You're going to be able to do things that you may have thought you'd never be able to do again. Play with the kids, the grandkids, be able to hike and walk and maybe play a full 18-round hole of golf and be able to do it and not get so winded. Because when you take that excess weight off, you're just going to feel better. You're going to be able to focus. You're going to be able to sleep better. Your overall health is just going to be improved. 864-252-4925. Call, set up your initial consultation. Find them online at myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. I got to say, I feel like a court reporter. For the past several weeks, we've talked about the latest updates on President Trump's hoax of a trial. It's like a daily update. Now, Hunter Biden's in the courtroom, and we're going to be updating you every day on his trial, unless you tell me you don't want to hear about it. And look, I'm open to that too. Just send me a quick text on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line, 71307. If you don't want me talking about it, we just won't talk about it. But I kind of think you want an update every day, don't you? You want to follow this. But I'll do what you want me to do. Here's what you need to know, okay? Let's just hit a few of the highlights of what to expect. First off, Biden faces up to 25 years. He's charged with one count of making false statements in a firearm purchase, another count of making a false statement related to information required to be kept by a licensed firearm dealer, and one count of possession of a firearm by a person who is an unlawful user of or addicted to a controlled substance. If he's found guilty on all the charges, he could face a maximum sentence of 25 years on each of the counts. And a fine of $250,000 on each of the counts, and potentially 3 years of supervised release. So that's what he's facing. According to an indictment, Hunter Biden bought a Colt Cobra revolver on October 12, 2018, and, quote, knowingly made a false and fictitious written statement intended and likely to deceive the dealer with respect to a fact material to the lawfulness of the sale of the firearm, certifying that he was not an unlawful user of and addicted to any stimulant, narcotic drug, and any other controlled substance, when in fact, as he knew, that statement was false and fictitious. His defense, it hinges on his drug addiction. We're going to hear a lot about how poor little Hunter was an addict. He will allege that he was addicted to drugs at the time he purchased a firearm, meaning prosecutors do not need to prove that he was in fact on drugs at the moment of the purchase. Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett summarized Hunter's crazy defense plan in a Monday morning appearance on Fox and Friends. He said the best witnesses against Hunter Biden is Hunter Biden. I mean, he wrote a book explaining in detail how he was a drug addict at the exact time that he bought a gun and then allegedly lied about it. So he incriminated himself, and it was incredibly foolish to cash in by peddling a book about your addiction when you know you're under criminal investigation for an addiction-related crime. Well, look, nobody has accused Hunter Biden of being smart. Nobody's accused Hunter Biden of being a rocket scientist, right? Jarrett said that Hunter's main defense hinges on denial of addiction and rehab, with a backup defense of being too strung out to intend wrongdoing. And that's what they'll try to argue. They'll try to argue that he was in the throes of his addiction and that he was so high at times on crack cocaine that he didn't know what he was doing. Jarrett said his defense may also attempt to challenge the Second Amendment despite his dad, the president's advocacy for stricter gun laws. Of course, we all know that the Bidens don't think the laws apply to them anyway, so I'm not sure what that would matter. Jarrett said his dad is on record railing against the Second Amendment and arguing strict gun laws should always be enforced except for, maybe against my own son. So it's a crazy defense there, too, as well. Hunter's family members, they'll be attending the proceedings. First Lady Jill Biden, his stepmom, attended the first day of his trial alongside his sister, Ashley Biden. Hunter arrived at court while holding hands with his wife yesterday, Melissa Cohen Biden. By the way, I've got a story to tell you about her in a minute. She had an altercation with someone outside of the court as they were walking in. President Joe Biden so far has not announced any plans to attend the proceedings. It wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't show up, though. Would not surprise me at all. The judge in the trial has ruled that the prosecution cannot use some salacious evidence in the proceedings, including references to his U.S. Navy discharge and the child support case for his out-of-wedlock daughter in Arkansas. Judge Mary Ellen Norica said that the government may use part of Hunter Biden's book in which he discusses his addiction to drugs. So we have a judge here. Think about this. Compare this to last week's or the last couple of months' trial of Donald Trump, when the judge pretty much just let anything be submitted into evidence, any testimony, unless it was one of Trump's witnesses. And now this judge is limiting some of what the jury can hear. We can't talk about the fact that he is the father of a child that he doesn't want to support. We can't talk about the fact that he was discharged from the Navy. According to reports, the prosecution does not plan to bring out Hunter's entire infamous laptop, which was leaked in 2020 just before the presidential election. A laptop that, had we not seen that, we would know some of the real details of what the Biden crime family actually has been done. The judge ruled that Hunter Biden's team will be able to question aspects of the laptop in front of the jury. In what is called a motion in limine, Hunter Biden asked the court to exclude reference to the child support proceedings in Arkansas and reference to his discharge from the Navy. This is in reference to the child he fathered, out of wedlock to the stripper, London Roberts. And the other thing you need to be reminded of is Hunter's gun crime charges are not the only criminal charges against him. He's also facing federal tax charges in California. He'll have to attend federal court in Los Angeles this month for tax evasion charges. That case stems from a years-long investigation conducted by special counsel David Weiss. Weiss charged Hunter Biden back in December, alleging a 4-year scheme in which the president's son did not pay his federal income taxes between January 2017 to October 2020, while also filing false tax reports. Hunter has pleaded not guilty to all charges in that case as well, with a trial scheduled to begin on June 20th, if not delayed. So that's kind of what we know for sure that Hunter Biden has facing him. By the way, yesterday, as Biden and his wife, Melissa Cohen Biden, were going into the courtroom, Mrs. Biden lashed out at a former Trump White House aide during this their walk into the court. Her remarks were directed at Garrett Ziegler, who is being sued by Hunter Biden for publishing the contents of the infamous laptop. Approaching, actually it may be Ziegler. What did I say? Ziegler. Approaching Ziegler at the trial, Biden's wife pointed her finger at him and said, "You have no right to be here, you Nazi piece of," you know what? I can't say it on the radio or on the podcast. Shouldn't say it anywhere. Nana Hudson doesn't allow me to say words like that. But you know what he was saying, what she was saying. Ziegler, who leads the nonprofit group known as Marco Polo, reportedly did not respond to Melissa Cohen Biden's remarks. This confirmed encounter was first reported by NBC News. Ziegler told the outlet, "It's sad I've been sitting here the whole time and haven't approached anyone. For the record, I'm not a Nazi. I'm a believer in the U.S. Constitution. I haven't said one thing to them." Regarding Ziegler's encounter with Ms. Biden, Marco Polo wrote in a tweet, "The wife has the same level of impulse control as Hunter. To the family bringing decency back, anyone who is perceived as opposition is a Nazi. Truly contemptible liars and scoundrels," Droop added. "We don't respond in kind in the back of a courtroom because we're gentlemen who do not berate women." Hunter Biden's lawsuit against Ziegler, which was filed last September, alleged that he had violated federal computer laws by hacking into the now infamous laptop that was left in a Delaware repair shop back in 2019. The lawsuit was filed in Los Angeles, accuses Ziegler and Marco Polo, as well as 10 unidentified associates, of spreading, quote, "tens of thousands of emails, thousands of photos, and dozens of videos and recordings that were considered pornographic on the laptop." Well, hey, I've got an idea here for you, Hunter Biden. If you're upset about this, then why did you have pornographic material on a laptop to begin with? And why would you take it to a repair shop and leave it, never to pick it up again? What did you expect would happen? Marco Polo is a self-described nonprofit research group who say they, quote, "expose corruption and blackmail." The website has several sections pertaining to Biden's laptop, including his emails, some of his text messages, some of his phone calls, and financial data that culminates in a massive online searchable database. All you have to do is go to their website and do a search, and you can listen and see some of this stuff for yourself. In the 14-page civil complaint, Biden's attorneys allege that Ziegler is a zealot who has unleashed a sustained, unhinged, and obsessed campaign against the entire Biden family for over 2 years and spent countless hours assessing, tampering with, manipulating, altering, copywriting, and damaging computer data with his associates. While defendant Ziegler is entitled to his extremist and counterfactual opinions, he has no right to engage in illegal activities to advance his right-wing agenda, attorneys for Biden say. Again, it's real simple here. If you didn't want these photos out, if you didn't want these naked photos out, if you didn't want these photos of you snorting cocaine, why did you have them on your laptop? And why would you just leave your laptop in a repair shop? Maybe because you were so high you forgot you even had a laptop. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Furman Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself if you're looking for a new appliance to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. On the text line today, Paul is accusing the Biden administration of being magicians, saying, just like a magician, smoke and mirrors. This is in relationship to our discussion yesterday about how Joe Biden believes that Bidenomics is real, that Bidenomics is good, and that we should all be thankful that Joe Biden came along when he did, that everything is fine in our country. Tony writes, if anyone thinks Hunter Biden will be found guilty, they're delusional. Surely, Tony, we have more confidence in our judicial system than this. It is going to be interesting to see the reaction, isn't it? If Hunter Biden is found not guilty following the 34 guilty pleas that we saw Donald Trump have to suffer last week, isn't it? Pam writes on the text line, listened to the podcast and heard that you wanted to hear from donors to President Trump. I did, and it was the first time I've ever donated to any campaign for office, and I'll do it again if needed. The Democrats have railroaded President Trump, and it needs to stop. Thank you, Pam. I appreciate that. Appreciate your comment, first off, and thank you for supporting Donald Trump's campaign. This was a question from earlier in the week, on Monday, I think it was, where I asked you if you were one of the ones who enthusiastically supported Donald Trump when he broke all fundraising records after his conviction announcements last week. Ace says, well, of course his dad will pardon him. Joey, if President Trump gets put in jail, how will he be president from jail? I heard that he'd run the presidential office from prison. Is this true? Well, Ace, there's nothing that would prevent Donald Trump from serving as president from jail. It might be a little more challenging. Wouldn't be able to do the normal daily activities that a president does. But no, constitutionally, he could serve from jail. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Texter Joey asked Josh why did he and Adam Morgan vote on two bills to punish only veterans? I'm not sure what you're referencing there. I know you're talking about Senator Josh Kimbrell, whom I had on the show yesterday, but I'm not sure. I will ask him. Texter, is it true Joseph Mengele was Fauci's great uncle? Fauci killed way more people than Mengele. I'm not sure there. Texter says, I sent $17.76. That's a good number, $17.76. Texter, I wish Joe was has boundless love for his grandchildren he doesn't want to claim. He'll never claim Hunter Biden's, I think he's a little girl, isn't it, that he had with the stripper? The Biden family will never acknowledge that child, and shame on them for that. Texter says all monies donated will be worth it 100 times over if he's elected. You're right on that. Texter says, I called Clyde Lewis last week on Fauci. Ground Zero asked me to predict a next pandemic. I said everybody will be skeptical unless Boston College releases theirs, a deadly weapon. Texter says, Joey, I made $20.24 donation to Trump's campaign, and I don't care how it's used. You know, I've gotten a lot of comments like this of people who are first-time donors, and that was one of the numbers that struck me after the weekend that the Trump campaign reported that 30% of the donations were of first-time donors. That's a big number. Texter says, will Joe pardon Hunter? Ha, 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 ha. You think Joe Biden really would pardon his son? Does he have any idea what kind of pushback he will get if that happens? Texter, Joey Garcia's an idiot. Hunter Biden is a crackhead. He shouldn't have guns. A jury is going to decide that for us. Our text of encouragement today: nothing you wear is more important than your smile. God bless Joel. Thank you, Joel. Appreciate that. A company that bred beagles for medical research, and I thought about this. I wonder if this company has anything to do with the company that Marjorie Taylor Greene called Fauci out on. She showed a photo during her questioning of Fauci yesterday of two beagles in an experimental lab. I didn't realize such thing existed. And you know how much I love dogs. You know that Jesse and Simon are a big part of our family. And to read this about these beagles just breaks my heart. This company bred beagles for medical research, and they agreed to pay a record $35 million as part of a criminal plea, admitting to neglecting thousands of dogs at its breeding facility in Virginia. In a statement, prosecutors said the penalties amount to the largest ever levied in an animal welfare case. The plea deal also bars the company that operated the facility in Vigoro RMS, as well as parent company Innovative, from breeding or selling dogs in the future, according to the AP. Well, they shouldn't be. They should be put out of business. The federal investigators said that Envigo, one of the leading suppliers of animals used in research, drew national attention in May 2022 when federal authorities conducted a search of the breeding facility in Cumberland County, Virginia, and they found nearly 450 animals in acute distress. The company later agreed to relinquish all 4,000 beagles they had at the facility. 4,000 beagles they had at this medical facility where they could conduct research. Wow. U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Virginia, Christopher Cavanaugh, whose office prosecuted the case, said Monday after a plea hearing at federal court in Charlottesville that Envigo and Innovative prioritized profits and convenience over following the law. Not to mention just treating these animals inhumanely. He said the company generated $16 million in revenue between 2019 and May of 2022 when the search occurred through the sale of 15,000 beagles over that period of time. They sold 15,000 beagles for medical research. But the company refused to make the investments necessary to provide the proper care. Kavanaugh said that cages were cleaned twice a month rather than every day as required. Animals were euthanized, including by direct injections to their heart without sedations. Dogs were routinely injured by getting their paws caught in flooring composed of metal grates that weren't designed for them to walk on. They lacked food and water and lived in unclean conditions. Court records show 300 puppies died over a 7-month stretch around 2021 for what was described as unknown causes. Look, there's a special place in hell for people who treat dogs, any animals, like this. You agree? Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Furman Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you could trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at FurmanFord.com, FurmanFord.com. Would raising the minimum wage help or hinder the labor force? Women in particular is a question that Democrats have been asking for several years now. In March, the White House released a report promoting the expected beneficial impacts of hiking the federal minimum wage and the impact that it would have on working women particularly. However, findings in a new study published by the Employment Policies Institute suggest that mandating higher federal wages would, on the contrary, adversely impact female workers. That's according to the study. I would add that it will impact all workers, not just females, males as well, particularly young people. As far back as Barack Obama, Democrats have wanted to force an increase in the minimum wage. Obama's economic advisors predicted that bumping minimum hourly pay from the current federal standard at the time of $7.25 an hour to $10 an hour would help women work their way above the poverty line and into the middle class. And among other forecasts, both Obama and Biden White House economists argued that a legislative wage increase would make progress towards closing the gender pay gap as well. EPI's calculations call the Democrats' prognosis into question. Of the 500,000 jobs that the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office recently estimated would be eliminated from the labor force with a proposed wage hike, EPI and economists from Miami and Trinity University found that 285,000 approximately of the jobs would be lost by women if these wage hikes were to be put into place. Michael Saltzman, a research director at EPI, said Democrats are right that women should be concerned about the minimum wage, especially if they're one of the 258,000 who will lose their job if increased minimum wage goes into effect. The downturn in the availability of low-skilled jobs would likely be a result of businesses cutting hours or maybe cutting staff entirely. And I'm going to give you some examples in just a few minutes. Saltzman told the Daily Caller News Foundation that the Democrats' campaign to raise the minimum wage may be less about passing economically sound policy and more about winning elections. Surely not. Surely Democrats would not propose something that they know might actually hurt the people they claim to be helping to try to earn votes. Surely they wouldn't do that, would they? Saltzman said there are better ways to boost wages that don't involve 500,000 lost jobs. Unfortunately, this election year, to push a minimum wage increase is all about helping politicians, not helping workers. Efforts to raise the minimum wage have gained momentum since back when Obama was president. Joe Biden has taken on that as well. Obama mentioned it as far back as his 2014 State of the Union address when he vowed to defeat income inequality, which was a center point of his administration. Obama was smart enough to recognize that any legislation mandating wage hikes was unlikely to pass the Republican-controlled House that he had while he was president. So Obama took the strategy of urging states to bypass Congress and to implement higher state minimum wages. Joe Biden has taken a page out of his former boss's book and has tried to do the same. Joe Biden has also encouraged governors of blue states to raise the minimum wage in their states. A growing number of states have been taking the president's advice. Over the last few years, Connecticut, Delaware, and most recently California raised their state minimum wage. According to some reports I found, 30 other states are considering doing likewise. So if you have any doubt of the damage that this can potentially do, let's just look at California for a minute. Look at California, who just recently raised their minimum wage particularly for fast food workers, restaurant workers, to $20, $20 an hour. Rubio's Coastal Grill, which is a California Mexican restaurant chain, announced this week that they're closing 48 restaurants in the Golden State because of rising business costs, including rising payroll costs. The Los Angeles Times reported that the chain decided to shutter nearly one-third of its restaurants following what they called a review of its operations and the current business climate. Basically, they can't make it work. And it was hard enough coming out of COVID, particularly in California. And then you slap a $20 minimum wage on them, it put them out of business. So anytime that you hear a politician or a union boss talking about the virtues of raising the minimum wage, think about Rubio's Coastal Grill in California, and think about those poor employees who are losing their jobs. The restaurant chain in their announcement said, while painful, the store closures are a necessary step in our strategic long-term plan to position Rubio's for success for years to come. They're struggling to survive, and they're realizing this is the only way they can survive. The company will continue to operate 86 remaining locations across California, Nevada, and Arizona. Ralph Rubio, who started the business, did not disclose how many employees were let go. The company said employees were underperforming. The decision comes 2 months after California implemented its $20 hour minimum wage for fast food employees. 2 months. And these employees who were celebrating the $20 the increase in that they had received, they were celebrating that. Now they're devastated because they've lost their job. So you tell me, which would you rather have? A job paying maybe $15 an hour and have a job, or lose your job because of a $20 minimum wage hike? And this is not the only one. Other restaurant chains have struggled in California as well, amid the wage hikes, inflation, and other negative factors that have compounded since COVID-19. And these restaurants struggled particularly in California during COVID because California had such draconian measures in place. Look, we were blessed here in the Carolinas and Georgia, where I live, as opposed to some of you in other states, because we were able to open up relatively quickly. We never really fully closed down in some areas, but not the case in California. So these restaurants were struggling, and then you come along just a couple of years later, and you mandate this 20-hour minimum wage. Last month, the seafood restaurant chain Red Lobster announced that it would auction off over 50 locations nationwide, with California having the most locations. Several California fast food restaurants have terminated workers. They actually terminated some prior to the $20 minimum wage taking effect, which took effect April the 1st, just last month. Some other eateries, particularly pizza chains, began cutting jobs in an effort to avoid possible financial repercussions before this took effect last month. The wage law applies to workers in fast food chains with 60 or more locations. Last year, multiple Pizza Hut franchises in California filed notices to comply with the Worker Adjustment and Restraining Notification Act, saying they were discontinuing their delivery services, which meant that many delivery driver jobs were just completely cut out. In December, Southern California Pizza Company announced layoffs of 841 drivers across the state. The move will impact Pizza Hut locations in Los Angeles, Orange, San Bernardino counties, Riverside, Ventura counties. So ask those 840 drivers, which would they rather have? $15 an hour, or this increased $20 an hour that everybody was raving about, that this was going to lift people out of poverty? The only thing it's done is put them further into poverty. They're unemployed now. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and forward this edition of Just the Truth to some friends. Just click on the share button. Send it to a few of your contacts, because if we're going to build our community and we're going to win in the June primaries, and if we're going to win in November especially, we got to build an army of conservatives. The way we beat Joe Biden is through educating people, and no better way and encouraging them to listen to just the truth. Hey, keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your emails always welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow special, $25 for the My Towels 6-piece towel set when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. We're back again tomorrow. Hope you will be too. Remember, God's got this. He's still in control.